What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm taking a look at the 30th anniversary of True Lies. It's directed by James Cameron, stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Arnold? Tom Tom Arnold? Tom Arnold's in this. Yeah, he is. Bill Paxton. Uh and uh, Eliza Dushku. And it's Tia Carrere. We got Tia Carrere is in this. 1994, sandwiched in between for Schwarzenegger. He had done Last Action Hero in 1993, which did not go over well. And after this, he would do Junior. So he really needed True Lies. And luckily, this one has worked. This one, I think, arguably has stood the test of time. I think my hot take on True Lies is that it's my favorite James Cameron movie. I don't want to get into the argument about like what's the best James Cameron movie because I don't want to fight like the Terminator 2 people and the Titanic people, but I do enjoy True Lies the most to have fun. It's a fun action movie. It doesn't have Terminator 2 is super fun too in many of its action sequences, but it still has like a little bit of a darker tone. True Lies has a little bit of a lighter tone to it, so it's easier to watch, um, even for its 2.5 hour runtime. So, and it's just a good movie, and it's funny that it's one of the few that Cameron hasn't tried to make a sequel of, or that nobody's tried to make a sequel of. Um, I mean, he did direct Aliens, which was already a sequel in and of itself, and then Fox just made more Alien movies. But yeah, I mean, you can't really do a sequel to Titanic, but obviously the Terminator franchise reigns supreme, and Avatar has had no problem getting its sequels off the ground, just if you're willing to wait long enough. Um, so yeah, is this is one of those movies that I didn't quite get to see in theaters, but I saw a little bit later on and then picked up on and then really enjoyed it. And made me a huge fan of Jamie Lee Curtis and the work that she can do sort of as an adult actress, not just as a scream queen, but like as somebody who is looking at getting out of the horror franchise and what else can you do outside of that realm. I think around this time I also probably saw her in like Forever Young with Mel Gibson and a couple of other things, but like I didn't see Mother's Boys until this year. That was my first time watching Mother's Boys for its that also dropped in 1994, so that's a hot garbage. um but nothing she could have done could have saved that. That's just a move. That's a script she should have said no to. Should have passed on. Should have read that and been like, nope, this film does not work. Um, but True Lies is the story of Harry and Helen, who are seemingly just the perfect couple. Loving their lives at home, and Helen's got a job, just a completely normal job that she goes to. Meanwhile, Harry's a spy, and Helen doesn't know. And Harry's best friend, played by Tom Arnold, is also a spy, and they just live this double life. They have a daughter, played by Eliza Dushku, before she goes on to be in. This is sort of a leaping point for her. She'll go on to do movies like Race the Sun, um, House Arrest, and then she was Faith on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, of course, True Calling, and I don't know whatever else. Keep on going with Eliza's career. And Tia Carrere, obviously, she's already been in stuff as of this point. She plays a villain here, who is sort of like the she feels like There's another sort of like generic Middle Eastern terrorist villain. She feels actually sort of like the central villain because her plot is less uh, sort of generic Middle Eastern terrorist regime. You know, it's funny that we were doing that even back in 1994. We were like, who are the terrorists? I don't know, brown people from the Middle East, always. Um, so yeah, it's just got a lot of action sequences in it, a lot of fun action moments, a lot of comedy to it. We see that Helen has been meeting up with this guy. She wants obviously a little bit more excitement in her life. So there's this guy that's been using her and pretending to be a spy so that he can get into bed with her, but he's not really a spy. And of course, Harry thinks that his wife's cheating on him, and then they realize what's happening, and they play around a lot with that, with the fake spy, and also with Helen, and leading to like this iconic sequence with Jamie and the dance. Really, that's all you need to say to anybody who's ever done True Lies before. Is even for me coming out of the LGBTQ community, it's still it's an iconic scene in film. Like when I think of True Lies, I'm like, oh yeah, Jamie's scene in True Lies. It, I mean, it's objectively hot. It's like a great moment for her. Like she dumps the water on her hair, and it's really it's James just understanding the moment and like how to transform that. They've done a lot of work to make Jamie look really dowdy until that point, and really just sort of like this boring housewife. Um, so, but of course, Jamie's already attractive, so it's really in that moment that all of the crap they've done to make her seem like she's some sort of generic, unappealing, non-attractive individual just goes away in that moment. And it's like it's sort of like a great joke where you've been watching the setup the whole time and then this is the punchline. It's not necessarily funny, but I mean, it kind of is. But it is a little bit like that. It's like James has been setting up this joke that you don't know if you haven't seen True Lies ever before, that there's going to be a punchline to. You're like, wow, Jamie's really just. And for a blind audience too, like I've seen True Lies multiple times, and I did get to watch this for audio description, which they finally made audio description True Lies. So, but after all this time, you know, you finally get to this point, and she's finally attractive, so to speak. But she's always been attractive. She just hair and makeup team. So it's a fun movie, and it's got Tom Arnold in it, and he's not annoying. So like my favorite James Cameron movie has one of like, man, Tom Arnold's film career. He had such a hard time getting into things that weren't terrible. Some of his movies after this are just awful. I think there are a couple people who still kind of like The Stupids, but like I don't think anybody ever liked Carpool or Big Bully. Um, like Hollywood tried to make him happen for a little while and gave him some starring roles and some things, and it just didn't work. So I think I don't know what he does now. I think he just gets angry on podcasts or something. Who knows? But yeah, um, True Lies, 30th anniversary of True Lies. Some great action sequences. It's a really fun comedy. Rest in peace, Bill Paxton. And give it. If you've never seen True Lies, what are you doing? What are you doing with yourself? It was a pretty successful movie in 1994, and I think when people rank James Cameron films, it's always sort of the wild card. Abyss can be a wild card too, because it really goes to show like where you're willing to put the other films when you rank James Cameron films. Like for me, especially having that weird experience with Avatar. Like I could see the first Avatar, but not the second one. Like I'd already lost my vision for the second one. That franchise is way less fun when you're blind. If you could see the first one and then not, and then even rewatching Avatar is just way less fun because he's made it so unique, that when you pull it down to just like stories and character, you're like, well, this isn't the best thing he's ever done. So it's easy for me to put the Avatar movies below the rest of his stuff. Um, the Abyss is, I don't have a deep connection to it because I just watched it last year for its anniversary, when was celebrating an anniversary release, and it finally got audio description. So, Aliens is a great movie, but I also like Alien. Whereas I actually think with Terminator 2, I actually think he did best himself. So I would put T2 above Terminator, in terms of the two Terminator films that he did. I actually think he did find a way to push himself. Whereas I just think the first two Alien movies are sort of like the first two Godfather movies. Like, there's always been that debate about which Godfather movie is better. It's like really hard. I mean, I tend to just go with the first one when they're that close because I feel like the second one always benefits from the strength of the first one. So, but then in there, you just throw True Lies. And it just depends on where you throw True Lies. Do you want to throw it above Alien and Terminator 2, but above Titanic? I don't know. But it's fun because it's its own thing. It's its own standalone thing. So it doesn't have a franchise attached to it. It's not a sequel to anything. It just is True Lies. And I like it, and of the James Cameron movies, I would absolutely take this to a desert island. I have fun with this a lot, and seen it a bunch of times. Oddly, never in theaters. Oddly, I've never seen this movie in theaters. I've just seen this a whole bunch on like cable and DVD and stuff like that, and now with audio description. So, yep, I'm gonna give True Lies an A+. Welcome to the desert island, True Lies. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.